Good evening. Tonight I thought I would make I'm not even going to say quick anymore because I know what I'm fucking like and it might take a while, but I'm going to make a little video tonight about basic winter cleaning, greasing. Now this will be different. God, there's not really a good angle on this, is there? This will be different from some other chain cleaning videos you might see because I'm honestly not going to go very in depth for a change. I am going to spray some degreaser, which I have in this handy bottle. Once I've cleaned off most of the crap, I'm then going to put some chain lube on. The reason I'm not going to go terribly in depth and I'm not going to take the chain off and I'm not going to take the cassette off and I'm not going to give it a really deep scrub is because it's still the middle of winter here in Aberdeen and there is frankly no point, because it will just get crummy and crappy again within like genuinely a couple of days. But doing this every couple of weeks during the winter, especially if you live somewhere like Scotland where there's a lot of salt and grit on the roads, it's frequently wet, it's very moist, very damp climate, and will conserve the life of the likes of your chain and your cassette, and you'll get more out of your drivetrain than you would if you just didn't. So, how do you know when it's time to re-grease? Well, for a little while when I've been pedaling, you might not be able to hear this, but... And the truth, you can't really hear it, to be honest. But when I'm pedaling, you hear this very dry metallic noise that you just otherwise won't hear. The other thing you can do is you may be able to see there's a kind of, it's kind of difficult to see in this light, but what you will see is on the chain and on the cassette there's a kind of light brown residue. It's not quite rust, it might be the beginnings of the formation of rust, but you might have a little bit of dirt on there as well. And this is around at the point where you kind of want to clean it off, because if you let it go really shitty then it will rust and it will corrode much quicker. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So I'm just going to spray a bit of degreaser when the bottle starts working again. Come on, baby. There we go. A bit of that in there. Get some of that in there. A bit of the derailleur. I'm just going to pedal this around a little bit. And I'm going to shift up a little bit. It's going to be a little bit difficult because the stand is kind of holding the cables in the way. Maybe, oh no, it'll work. And I just want to get that kind of worked through the gears here. And I'll do it on the front. Get some on there. Get some on that ring. Get some on that ring. And really you're just working it in. Beautiful. I hope you could probably do with the service, but anyway, that's not the point of today's video. So I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to put a little bit more squish on there. And I'm just going to let that sit for some minutes. Now, when you put degreaser on, side point, really important, make sure you have your tea to hand, because otherwise this will go horribly wrong. Oh, that's good shit. Once you've done that, what you can then do is take a sponge of some description. This is just a general purpose cleaning sponge. You could honestly use a kitchen sponge. Kitchen sponges tend to fall apart. Those yellow ones tend to fall apart quite quickly. This one's kind of got a bit of a wrap around it, so it is kind of like a kitchen sponge, but more durable, stronger. And then I'm gonna I've obviously caught this fairly early because it's only stage 1 chain wear, because that's actually taking the crap off that quite quickly, quite easily with just a basic scrub of the degreaser. Get on there, and give this a bit of a scrub. And this again doesn't have to be super in depth. And if I was doing this during the summer, I would take the rear wheel off, but I'm not going to take the rear wheel off on this occasion because, to be entirely honest, The tire on this back, oh my god, I forgot to English there. The tire on the back of this bike is a bit bigger than what really should be on here. And it's got V-brakes, so when you take the rear wheel out, it tends to kind of just jiggle the brake pads a little bit. And I always have to kind of adjust it afterwards. It's a pub bike. It does me what I need it to do. But I can't be bothered with adjusting the brakes right now. So I'm just going to do the minimum. And I say I'm doing the minimum, but really this is all you actually need, you know. And it's not necessary to do a full scrub down of the bike every bloody week. I mean, if you've got a really shiny, you know, Pinarella Dogma la 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 la, and you want to clean it after every ride because it's a £14,000 bike, then fucking crack on, eh? But this isn't that. This is my commuter. This is my Peugeot 306. This is my get her done bike. This is not anything fancy. This is just what I need to get me to work and back again. And it does that job swell. Come on. And the reason I'm having to do this funny dance is because my stand pinches the cables on the bottom of the... You know what? That'll be fine. That'll be fine. And already... Can't see it terribly well. Oh, that's because it's still there. Lol. Already that is looking better. There's less crap on the chain. There's less crap on the gears. I'm going to probably work at this for a little bit longer. So I'd like to get some more of the crap off of here. Not a huge amount longer. Because I can't really... Because it's just not needed at this time of year. You don't need to spend fucking hours in the garage cleaning your bike up. And you know, I think that's one of the things that kind of puts people off doing this themselves. They see videos on YouTube that are fucking ages long and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if it's worth it. This bike, now admittedly, this bike cost me just over £21 to put together, but that's because, well, I volunteer at a bicycle cooperative and I have access to cheap parts. But you could get a pretty similar bike on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree and do it up yourself, and it wouldn't cost you a great deal of money. You'd probably do it for probably about 100 quid, maybe less. Obviously having the experience and having the know-how of what needs done will make it a lot easier, but already I think even in this kind of crappy light you can see that there's less crap on the chain, and this video's only been going 8.5 minutes. 8.5 minutes and I'm almost happy to call that clean enough. Good enough for what it's for. There's a guy, Andy, I can't remember his second name, but he has a channel called Bike Farmer. You may have heard of him. Bike Farmer on YouTube, and he has this saying, I don't know if he came up with it, but he has this saying, good enough for who it's for. And I'm inclined to agree with Andy. In this instance, this chain is clean enough for what it's for and who it's for. I am very... God, I hate the word passionate sometimes. I'm very passionate, very interested, very engaged in trying to make cycling more accessible for everyone. Like, it's something that I think is really important for society. I think as we try and come up with greener, more sustainable ways for getting around, cycling is got to be down near the top of that list. The only thing that's better for the environment is maybe walking, but in terms of sheer efficiency, how far you can go on such little money, and compared to the likes of a car, the environmental impact of a bicycle is fairly low. just trying to blow out the extra suds, is pretty incredible. You know, you can, people have, and people do routinely cycle the whole damn way around the world. That's a clean chain. Well, like I said, clean enough for what it's for. So now that I've taken most of the crap off of it, it's important to, because some people, you know, some people do this where they will just throw lube on dirt. Now, you don't want to do that. And the reason you don't want to do that is because when you just throw lube straight onto dirt, what you do is you create a kind of a grinding paste. So if you've got a metal and it's already covered in crap, and you then put more oil on it, you're just making a thicker layer of crap for the metals to grind against one another. Now, while this chain did have a little bit of surfaced dirt and rust on it, it's in great nick. Got my little chain checker here, pop that in there. It's not even at 0.5. It's a good, healthy chain. It doesn't need all the maintenance in the world. It just needs a little bit of a clean, and I'm happy that's clean enough. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of lube on it. This is a rock and roll lube. I have muck-off ones, I have Halford's ones, I have lots of different ones. I'm not terribly precious about them. I used to just wet lube everything. I'd be like, wet lube, wet lube, wet lube, just do wet lube all year. And to be honest, there's probably times where it's made me have to clean my bike more often than I have to. Dry lube's pretty great too. Dry lube will sort out a myriad of issues. Sort out myriad issues? What I mean is that it will be more than sufficient for a lot of people, for a lot of purposes. Especially if you don't live up here in the frozen north with me with all the salt and grit in the fucking universe. So what I'm doing is I'm just popping it through the gears. So that the lube goes into the different rings of the cassette. Now some people will say it's called chain lube, not cassette lube. It's all part of the drivetrain. It's all moving over the other parts. So if you are going to lubricate your chain, well, that's obviously going to come in contact with the cassette, and it's going to come in contact with the chain rings. So it helps to make sure that these things get a bit of a clean as well. Doesn't need to be the prettiest job in the world, just provided it's done, and it's done every now and then. I'm going to let that sit and just soak in to the chain for a couple minutes, but that's already looking a million times better than it was before. I mean, yeah, there's still some dirt, there's still a little bit of surface rust on there, but it is nothing that is deeply concerning to me. And as I said, the chain's in good nick. So let's go over that real quick. You got your chain checker, or at least if you don't have a chain checker, you should get a chain checker. Park Tool make them. Risk, which is hilariously like my favorite bicycle part component maker in the world, just because I think the name's fucking hilarious, make them. This one's actually really good because it's got a little gauge on it. Got little pictures. Can't see it terribly well in that light, but these 1, 2, 3 pictures show you basically the further in it goes, the more worn the chain is, with little marks to show you how worn it is. So I check that first before I even bother cleaning it, because if it's super worn, there's no point in cleaning a worn chain, because you're going to have to replace it unless you're just going to ride it till it dies, which you can do. This is just some silicone-based lubricant, and it's a good thing to put on derailleurs, especially if you just cleaned all the other stuff around it, because what it will do is it just goes into all the springs and stuff, and it just does a little bit of magic, you know? It's just good. Makes things makes things work good. I'll wipe that down in a minute once I'm done. But yeah, let's recap. So your chain sounds a little bit dry. You can see that there's dirt. You can see there's rust on it. If it's like fucking orange, like the whole chain is that color, then you need a new fucking chain, mate. I'm sorry, but there's only so much that degreaser can do. I wouldn't ever use a rust remover on a chain unless it was maybe. In fact, you know what? I'm not even starting more bikes because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I would never use a rust remover on a chain. If the chain is that rusted, just replace the chain. It will be quicker and cheaper and more economical and more environmentally friendly, honestly, to probably just replace the chain than to try and de-rust the chain. So once you've cleaned it, this is just some weld-tight degreaser. Muck Off make a really good one. There's lots of them out there. I think, if I know that's weld-tight, Fenwick's make like a foaming chain degreaser. That one I have heard good reviews about. There's lots of them out there. You just need a degreaser. Honestly, I've seen people use fairy liquid and warm water, and honestly that works too. The only thing with that you have to be very careful with is that you make sure that you really dry all of the water off of the chain before you then go greasing it, because if you leave a lot of surface water, or even a little bit of surface water on the chain and it's not well greased, then that water will rust the chain. So make sure you do that. Clean it good. Leave the degreaser on for 10-15 minutes. I've not done that and it's still come off fairly well because there wasn't a great deal on it. If you have more grease, more crud, more crap on your chain, leave it a bit longer. Do it a couple of times and it should all come off. And if, like me, you just got this bike's just for commuting and kind of getting you A to B to C to D to whatever, you don't even have to take the chain off. You don't have to do all that faff. You don't even have to put it in a stand. You can put it on the floor and back pedal like that to spray the stuff on. Then once you've done that, put your lube on. And then once you put your lube on, wipe off the excess. And that's it. That's it done. And that was 17 minutes. And that was with me going through things. You know, if I had just been doing it, not making a video, this would have, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. But I mean, you have to wait. You have to let the greases and the oils do their magic. That already looks a million times better. And it sounds healthier too. It doesn't sound nearly as dry. Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds better, looks better, is better. Et voila. This is probably something you should do in the winter, probably at least once a month. In the summer, you might be able to get away with going maybe 2 months. Eventually, the oil will get washed off your chain. You don't need to do it terribly often. Once a month in the winter, maybe more if it's really shit weather. Summer, maybe every 2 months. It's probably around about how often I do it. And you know, everyone could probably do with doing it more often, but provided you do it at some point and you take care of it, the bike will take care of you. And I think I've rabbled for long enough, so I'll call it there. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one.